critically at your act, how do you think you figure that out? You know, what are the telltale signs? Is it what you're maybe more passionate toward, or do you see, you test yourself out in front of a bunch of audiences and see which ones react the best to you? What would be your advice, for identifying the niche?
I think you've got to be as honest as possible, and I think it's always great to surround yourself with colleagues, friends, good management, good agents, good advisors, whatever you want to call them. But sometimes this is something that it's hard to discover yourself. Sometimes you have to surround yourself with good people who are able to see something in you that's right for the right future for you.
So really, this is something that maybe you can't figure out on your on your lonesome there. That's a hard lesson, I think, for a lot of magicians to get out of their own headspace and maybe figure something out with somebody else.
Yeah, if you think about all the great magicians that I've mentioned and all the great magicians through history, the stars were obviously very driven people, and they were very passionate people, and they had a very clear vision that was different to everybody else, but also they surrounded themselves with a team of great people who helped them to become the successes that they were and they are.
All right, this is easily our favorite question for the iTricks interview. We ask it of all of our guests. All right, and it involves time travel, so brace yourself. Let's say you've traveled back in time, right? You can meet a young Anthony Owen at any point in your past and give him one piece of advice. What is that piece of advice? And if you can give us as specific as possible a moment in time when you would deliver it.
That's a tricky one for me because I'm not somebody that has regrets, and I'm not somebody that would look back on my life and think, well, if only I'd done that, or if only I'd done this. Yeah. And that isn't to say that I haven't had things that I would consider to be failures, or things that I think were, not great decisions that I've made. But I'm not someone that would want to go back and fix them. I'm just somebody who I hope has learned from them and has moved forward from them. And because of those bad decisions or failures that I've had in my life, those have helped me to get to where I am now. So my view is that I wouldn't want to go back and change anything. I wouldn't want to go back and say something to myself earlier in my life. I remember being 17, being on that trip, traveling around the States, and seeing a poster on a wall that had the quote, and I can't remember whose quote it is. I'm sure somebody out there will. Don't regret what you have done, only what you have not done. And that kind of sums up my attitude to life. There's no point having regrets about things that you've done or decisions that you've made. That's happened, that's in the past, and you've just got to take that and move forward and onwards.
Now, come on, there's got to be a bad haircut or something.
Oh, there's been a lot of bad haircuts.
There's got to be something in there that you could deliver a young Anthony Owen that he'd be appreciative later on.
I guess I could probably go back to, if I went back to like the 13-year-old Anthony Owen, I would say, I'd say to him, they may not know about who Di Vernon is, but girls aren't bad.
Hey, there we go. And I'll tell you what, no one has given that response to this question, and I think it's a very important one. We have a lot of younger viewers for these kind of programs.
There we go. So yeah, exactly.
That's it. That's what I'm looking for.
And of course, these days, there are girls out there who do know who Di Vernon is. So that's
I know. Best of both worlds. All right. Outside of magic, who has inspired you? This is just, I guess, influences in terms of character and stuff.
I was very fortunate to have a family that encouraged me and supported me in everything that I wanted to do early on in my life. And I was talking earlier about, the thing about going to university, going to college. That was ultimately my decision. They were always very encouraging, but they didn't say, oh, you got to do this, you've got to do that. Whatever I wanted to do, they encouraged me and supported me. So my parents, my sister were a massive influence in terms of non-magicians who had a big impact on my life early on. And then I've always been inspired and even today influenced and encouraged by great movies, great theatre, great books, and great television. Obviously, working in television these days, that inspires me.
I'll tell you, Anthony, I hate to put you on the spot, but can you give me one of each in terms of movies, books, and theater? Just
one of each.
a recommended, just off the top of your head.
I think the people I remember sort of in my formative years, in my teens, the two people, artists who sort of worked across all genres um, and actually they're both magicians, but for neither of them, it's I never saw either of them perform a trick.
Yeah.
And one is Woody Allen.
Ah.
And the other one is Orson Welles.
Aha.
So obviously with Orson Welles, I never got a chance to see him in a theatre, but his film work, his War of the Worlds, and so he would be a massive influence, and also Woody for his stand-up and for his movies and for his theatre scripts.
All right. Well, we are out of questions, but I have one more thing that I haven't prepped you on, but I do want to ask you about, because I'm a huge fan of a film that you had something to do with, Magicians, starring Mitchell and Webb. I rewatched it relatively recently, and I really, really do enjoy it. It's anybody who hasn't picked it up, please. I know it's on sale for DVD in the UK. Find a region-free player. Go through the effort to watch the movie. but can you you were credited with coming up with part of the story. I really just wanted to get your take on where that came from, the genesis of that kind of idea.
It absolutely came from Andrew O'Connor, who directed the movie. He wanted to make a movie, and so he got a bunch of us in a room, myself, David Britland, Andy Nyman, and where it came from is it came from real life. It came from all of our true stories about magic conventions, magic competitions, bad magic acts that we sat through. And it's completely autobiographical. Andrew O'Connor was a Magic Circle Young Magician of the Year in 1981. I was a finalist in that same competition in 1987. And in my time, I've been a judge of several magic stage competitions, and have certainly sat through my fair share of bad magic competition acts, and good ones too, and great ones.
Yeah.
But it was basically it was all of those experiences from David, Andy, myself, just sharing all of those stories with Andrew, and then Sam and Jesse, the other two writers who write Mitchell and Webb's sitcom Peep Show, which Andrew also produces through Objective. They then went off to a magic convention competition as well, and they sort of brought all their experience from that to polish off the final script.
What I really loved about the tone of the movie is that, as brutal and vicious as it is at times, it's always it's from a place of love or admiration that,
affection. Hopefully it's still an affectionate, whilst it's a gentle poking of fun at that life, it's also, and Andrew is a magician, loves magic, and loves the magic world, and I think that comes through in the final movie. And the characters that are there, whilst there are a wide range of very strange characters that we all know exist in the magic world, you still care for them, hopefully, and you still connect with them.
Yeah, but one more time, anybody watching this, an impassioned plea to go see Magicians. If you're not familiar with Mitchell and Webb, look them up. Jessica Stevenson from Spaced is in it. It's fantastic. All right. Well, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you what you have coming up with Objective and product-wise from the Anthony Owen experience. What can we expect?
In terms of television-wise, in terms of Objective,
both. Yeah.
Oh, no, sorry.
Okay, starting. Go ahead.
In terms of television stuff here in the UK through Objective, we have 2 new series coming up with Derren Brown later in the year. One which will be in September, which will be 4 new specials. And then we're also shooting a series of documentaries with Derren, where Derren meets some interesting people and spends time with them. We're currently filming series 8 of The Real Hustle for the UK for the BBC, with Paul Wilson, Alex Conran, and Jessica Clement. So that's series 8. Series 7, I think, starts going out around April, May time, and then series 8 coming out later in the year. And then there's a couple of other new projects. We've got a very exciting new project with Barry and Stuart, for the BBC, which is all under wraps at the moment, but that will be coming up very imminently.
Very exciting.
We've got another online project, an internet-only project for Channel 4, which I think you'll be able to view all over the world. So that's going to be very interesting as well. And there's the usual process of lots of things in development that we're talking about, lots of interesting performers that we're talking to, and new projects that will hopefully be coming up in the near future. So watch this space for iTricks is usually where I find out about most things that I'm doing these days. So that's all the stuff in terms of objective, and then in terms of my own products, as I say, my time is limited, so I'm only able to release a small amount of what I'd like to be able to release in terms of products. But my Ultimate Oil and Water DVD has just hit the stores, as they say, so that's available through tvmagic.co.uk. And that's something I created in about 1996, and it's kind of the latest incarnation of an effect which I've continued polishing, and it's got new handlings that I haven't released before. So that's just come out. The interview I spoke about earlier is available through the guys at TV Magic. And what other new stuff have we just got out there? There's the Dungeon DVD available from all good magic shops, which is a re-release of a bad haircut from several years ago. It was one of my early Magic DVD releases, or early Magic videos, now available on DVD with some additional material. And and then I've just the lecture DVD of my lecture, which has some mentalism stuff and some close-up stuff. My lecture that I did at the International Magic Convention in 2007. That's just come out on DVD, and again, that's exclusive from the guys at TV Magic.
Excellent. Well, thank you very, very much, Anthony Owen. It really is always a pleasure to talk to you. And,
And you, Justin?
And I'll tell you what, when we started iTricks, you were one of the first guys who were really, somebody of big time importance that read iTricks. So whenever I put up stuff about Derren or Barry and Stuart, especially stuff that, maybe isn't officially been released, or we get a spy report, I always think, like, oh man, I really hope I'm freaking out Anthony just a little bit, just in a good-natured little bit.
As I say, it's the first place I turn to find out what I'm doing today. So,
thank you very, very much for taking the time out.
You're very welcome, and see you soon.